Hey guys, it's Kevin. It's me, another movie for guys. Now, this movie we're reviewing, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. This movie we're reviewing was probably my most anticipated movie of the year. I remember when I heard about this movie. That movie, of course, just without a doubt, is none other than Black Mass. I did get a poster for it, so I am gonna show it off to you guys. But yeah, I got this poster, so that was really cool. Now, I was hyped out of my mind for this movie for a couple reasons. One, I remember when I discovered the trailer. I didn't really think much of it until I saw the trailer. Once I saw that first trailer, I was hooked right away. It looked like the comeback role for Johnny Depp. It looked like it was going to be one of the best gangster films in a long time. And it really looked like a throwback to, like, Scorsese films, which you guys know Scorsese is my favorite director of all time. So that is definitely something I was, very interested in seeing how the movie was going to be. And even after the mixed reception it's been getting, because let's face it, it has not been getting the greatest reviews, I was still really hyped for this movie. I knew it wasn't going to be a masterpiece. I knew that. I didn't go in saying this is going to be a masterpiece of cinema. It's going to be my favorite movie of the year. But I was really hyped for it, especially after the third trailer. I watched that trailer consecutively. Like, I watched it at least twice a night. I absolutely love that trailer. I think it's one of the best trailers I've seen in a very long time. And if you guys haven't seen, check out the third trailer for Black Mass. And after finally seeing it, I have to say that Black Mass wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but it's still a damn good movie. I mean, this movie was great. I really, really loved it for the most part. It has a few problems here and there, but for the most part, I thought Black Mass was a really great movie, and it definitely is one of the better, I think, one of the better biopics to come out this year, definitely. So basically, the plot of Black Mass is pretty simple. We focus on Whitey Bulger, who is considered one of the top criminals of all time, and even one of the fugitives of all time, which I'll get into. Basically, he is this leader of crime in Boston, and eventually one day he is approached by John Connolly, who he has known since he was a child. He is this FBI agent, and he wants to work with Whitey Bulger in an alliance against this bigger threat, basically. And Whitey Bulger, he doesn't want to really be involved because he doesn't want to be involved with FBI and things like that. But he promises him that it's this alliance. And eventually this starts really affecting John Connolly to the point where, this really starts to affect him. He's not able to tell anyone about it. And basically, it's how this affects their overall bond, how this affects, what happens to John Connolly. And that's basically a plot of Black Mass. So, like I said, I was definitely really looking forward to this movie. And right off the bat, the acting is the thing I was definitely most looking forward to, because the cast of this movie looked like it was one of the most stellar casts of any movie this year. I mean, the cast is just, it's all-star. There's so many great actors in this cast, and I was definitely interested in seeing how they would do. And Johnny Depp especially is who I was looking forward to, because he's really not one of my favorite actors. Like, if I had to pick a list of favorite actors, Johnny Depp would really not be on there, because he really hasn't made a lot of great films lately. Like, he's made some really great films, like Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, and things like that. Even Pirates of the Caribbean, which is not my favorite, he still gets really into that role. And it seemed like he was really getting into this role. To say Johnny Depp made a comeback in this movie is an understatement. He returned to, like, cinema in this movie. He was extremely dedicated to this role. I never saw Johnny Depp in this role. I saw Whitey Bulger. You really see Whitey Bulger right away. His introduction in the film is one of the coolest introductions I have seen this year. It's awesome. But you see right off the bat that Whitey Bulger is this cold-hearted killer. He pretty much has no emotion whatsoever. Really nothing affects him. And he's the kind of guy where if you do anything wrong, the slightest of things, he will probably kill you. That's probably what he's going to do. He's going to kill you, and he's going to go after you, and he just did a great job. He was so intimidating, but he was also kind of funny at times. That's the thing. There's very dark humor at times with Whitey Bulger. I was surprised by how much I was laughing at times at his character. And I thought he did a very good job, definitely. And he, especially, in terms of gangsters, I think played one of the best examples of a gangster, one of the most realistic portrayals I've seen in a very long time. And Johnny Depp, I definitely see an Oscar nomination happening for him. If he doesn't get nominated, I'm going to be very shocked because he definitely deserves it after this movie. Joel Edgerton as well was amazing in this movie. Joel Edgerton, I think, did a fantastic job as John Connolly. I really loved the character of John Connolly, just seeing how much this was affecting him. He had to keep this secret from the FBI. He could not tell the FBI that he was working with Whitey Bulger and that he knew what was going on with him. And obviously, this really started to eat inside of him and even change him as a person. And he had so many standout scenes in the movie. I mean, he was a very interesting character. And one of the things I loved about John Connolly is you really feel bad for him because the whole time he feels like Whitey Bulger has his back, but you know that he doesn't, and it's really sad. And he always felt like Whitey Bulger had his best interests, and it's really sad to watch. But Joel Edgerton did a really great job, and you really cared for his character. And I feel he's just as Oscar worthy as Johnny Depp. Honestly, these two bonding together. They don't have too many scenes in the film, which is one of my complaints, but I thought for the most part they both did a very good job. Now, Benedict Cumberbatch was someone I was really looking forward to, really not in the movie that much at all, which I was kind of disappointed by. Billy Bulger is a very compelling character, mainly because of the fact, and I say character because this is a movie, I know these are real people, but Billy Bulger, as a character, is very interesting. He's the complete opposite of Whitey Bulger. He wants nothing to do with his brother, really. He still talks to him here and there, but he doesn't want to be involved with, the life that his brother is leading. He's this senator. He wants to be a senator. He has, morals, things like that. And the conflict between these two is just very, very interesting. And I would have wanted to see a bit more scenes. Benedict Cumberbatch definitely, I think, was the most underused out of any character in this movie, and definitely should have had a lot more in the movie because I really cared about his character, and I really wish they did a lot more with him. You would think that Benedict Cumberbatch, they do a lot more with him, but they really didn't, and it kind of sucks because there were some scenes in the trailer that were definitely cut out of the movie, and I think they could have done a lot more with the character than they essentially did, but for what he had, he still did a great job. Someone that no one is talking about that I really do want to talk about is Dakota Johnson. Oh my god, I was most looking forward. Dakota Johnson was the people I was most looking forward to because 50 Shades of Grey obviously wasn't good. She had potential in that movie. She, you really saw that she could be this great actress, and she really pulls it off here. I am going to warn you guys, though, she only has about 10 minutes of screen time in this movie, which is why you're not going to hear a lot of people talk about her. However, I feel she has one of the standout scenes in the movie by far. She was incredible for what she was in. I really wish she would have been in at least one more scene just to wrap things up with her character. But I get it that when her character is over, we don't need to see that part of Whitey Bulger's life anymore. But I still felt she did a very good job, and for what she was in, she was amazing. Kevin Bacon as well is very good in this movie. As Charles Maguire, I thought he was definitely very good. The one person I wasn't as big as a fan of was Jesse Plemons. The thing I didn't like about his character is that it felt like they didn't really know what to do with him. Like, his introduction, he seems like he's going to be one of the biggest parts of the movie, and then he kind of goes away and comes back, and for what he did really good, but out of all the characters, I felt he was definitely the weakest. Corey Stoll, though, I thought was incredible in this movie. Again, very limited screen time, but very, very good role. You really saw how much he cared about, catching Whitey Bulger, and how much he cared about, what Whitey Bulger was doing, why he didn't understand why the FBI didn't want to do anything about Whitey Bulger, and it was very, very interesting to see how he was in the movie, and I thought he did a very good job. Everyone else was really, really good, and I thought everyone did a pretty good job for the most part, and the cast overall, I thought, definitely one of the most solid ensembles of the year, and I think for the most part, really everyone did a great job. The directing here by Scott Cooper, I thought was really well realized, definitely. The tone, you see right away, this is a very dark and bleak world, a very dark tone. There's never a point in the movie where it's not dark, and for some, that could be a problem. For me, I thought that was perfect because the characters we're following with. Most of these characters are villains and gangsters, and I thought the directing was very good because then I think Scott Cooper, for the most part, really did a great job. Not some of the best directing of the year or anything, but I definitely feel for a movie like this, it could have been very hard to pull off, and I think he definitely did a very good job with that. Screenplay, however, is where I start to have a few problems with this movie. I don't have too many problems here, and you guys may say, well, why do you have so many problems? I don't have that many problems. I really don't. But there were a few things that I was a bit kind of like, I don't really feel that was needed. First of all, I did feel the first, I'd say 30 minutes of this movie was not that interesting. I think it definitely I think it was interesting, but I wasn't as into it. And my other problem with the movie is that I felt like we didn't really get to see as much of the bonding between some of the characters as much as I did. As much as I really liked the FBI scenes, which I thought were very well done, and, seeing them go after Whitey Bulger, there really wasn't anything new there, and what I really wish they would have done is maybe show some flashbacks of John Connolly, of Whitey Bulger, and of Billy Bulger during their childhood. I honestly would have wanted to see some of that, because I feel it would have made us, connect to some of the characters a little bit better, and while I was able to latch onto these characters, I think if they maybe expanded upon their history a bit more and, showed it to us, would have been a bit interesting. It's just a great example of show not tell. I've talked about this before, but this is a movie that show not tell would have been a really good thing. I would have wanted to actually see, some flashbacks. Maybe in the beginning, just show me a couple scenes of John Connolly meeting up with Whitey Bulger. There is an interrogation thing throughout this movie where basically this FBI agent is interrogating all the different people that have been associated with Whitey Bulger, and it was very interesting to watch. But I felt like in the long run, they kind of went away and then they did it again. And then I like seeing the ways these people were affected, but it didn't really do much for me. I definitely was not as interested. And to me, I felt like this should have been a straight up biopic, starting with those flashbacks and then maybe working its way to those interrogation scenes. But I felt like that was kind of like the narrative device of the film, and it didn't exactly work for me as well as I wanted to. And it's mainly because I don't think the characters we saw really enough of. They're showing us these characters, but it's like, who are you again? Because, like, I barely saw you. And also, I feel like the movie definitely gave us a way too information at once. This is a movie that throws information at you a lot, and I was honestly kind of confused by this movie. I was able to understand it, but toward the end, I was kind of like, huh, what happened? I mean, there's so many things that happen at once, and I got a bit confused towards the end. I feel like if the movie did rush things a bit toward the end, and I feel they threw a bit too much information at us, that was something that was simple, but because they threw so much information at us at once, it kind of became a bit confusing, and it kind of took me out of the movie a bit. And I wish I wouldn't say that, but yeah, it kind of did. And I know I've said before that sometimes movies need to do that. This was not a movie that I felt needed to do that. I felt the movie could have told a more cohesive story if maybe it showed stuff to us and not just directly tell them. When you tell information, it's not as compelling. When we see a scenario, that really, I think, puts us into, what's going on here. And that, I think, was definitely very well handled. All the gangster scenes and the scenes of Whitey Bulger torturing people, there are some scenes that are just incredible to watch. I mean, of course, the Just Saying scene. That scene, of course, we saw in the first trailer. It's one of the best scenes in the movie. It's not the best. It's not, one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie by far. But I think that scene, honestly, will probably go down as, like, one of the greatest in gangster movie history. It's a great scene. And all the scenes felt like something right out of a Scorsese movie. The dialogue was great. Sometimes the movie was slow, though. Sometimes the movie was slow, but I was into it for the most part, but there were just a few times when I felt it was definitely a bit slow, and I could have been a bit more into it. But I thought the screenplay overall was great. Cinematography is by far some of the best I have seen all year. The visuals looked amazing. This looked like Boston. I did have a problem with the costumes in terms of when time jumps happened. The characters' looks really didn't change that much at all. The only person's look that really changed was John Connolly toward the end of the movie, which I was a bit pissed about, which I was a bit upset about, because I feel like when you do that, you should be able to tell, oh, this is this time period. They didn't look that different, and I thought, they would have at least changed their hairstyles a bit. They really didn't, and I don't know if they did in real life, but especially in movies like Goodfellas, you saw them change their hairstyles, and they really did in this movie. Not too much of an issue, but I thought the costumes looked great. This really seemed like a realistic world. It seemed like this was something that really happened, and I thought they did a very good job with that. I will tell you guys, though, that if you're expecting this movie to be graphic, it's really not that graphic. I mean, there are some graphic scenes in this movie, but I've seen far more graphic. I mean, Goodfellas and Casino took a lot more risks, and I kind of feel like this film was afraid to take some risks, and I don't really know why. It kind of seemed like the film just didn't show us certain things that I wish they would have shown. I mean, there was a scene that seemed like it was going to go in this very gruesome direction, and it went in a pretty safe direction that I thought kind of just showed us as like kind of like the director's pussied out, and it kind of sucked for me because I would have wanted to see them actually show us that. I mean, think of Casino when they show us, someone's, destroying someone's head. I mean, there's some really disturbing scenes in Casino. This has disturbing scenes, but it's mainly because of Johnny Depp's acting that made it disturbing. I just felt the film wasn't, was kind of afraid to take some risks. The score as well, I thought was great to this movie, but it was kind of inaudible at times. I mean, I feel like the score was kind of quiet. It was kind of strange the way it was done. There were times where I would hear it, and then there were times where could barely hear the score. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I felt it was very strange the way they handled that. And I definitely thought that was a bit of a problem. The editing as well, I thought the film was a bit too slow. I think the film could have been a bit more fast-paced, even a bit longer, honestly. Honestly, I feel it should have been longer because I would have been more into it. And it felt longer than it was. It's only 2 hours, and I've seen films that are 2 hours, but this felt a lot longer than that because of just the scenes that are slow are very slow. I know I've said before that, oh, I don't have a problem with slow scenes. I kind of did to this movie just because I felt they just went on a bit too long. It's like, okay, I understand. You got to the point of this scene. Why do you keep needing to show me this? It kind of seemed like it just dragged on for a bit too long. And I thought that didn't really work for me. And I felt, but for the most part, I was really into it. But there were there were some parts of the movie that I wasn't as into. I think if I were to rewatch it, I would still really be into it. But there were just some parts that I really wasn't into. Um, but overall, guys, I think Black Mass is still a really great movie. I still really enjoyed it, despite the problems I have with it. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. It's definitely not a masterpiece. It's really nothing new in terms of gangster films. It's not really a gangster film. If you're looking for something like Goodfellas, it's actually really not that. There are scenes that borrow from that, but it's definitely more of a crime drama than it is a biopic, and I was fine with that, but the film kind of made it seem like it was going to be a gangster film, and it really wasn't. I wouldn't say the trailer was necessarily misleading. It just seemed like it was going to be something else, and it wasn't. I did feel the film was a bit, there were some things that it could have done that it didn't. Maybe delve a little bit deeper into the Bolger brothers, because I think that would have been one of the more compelling things. Honestly, I was thinking that was going to be the original thing in this movie, because people are like, oh, this film isn't very original. I was thinking the Bolger brothers was going to make this original, and they really didn't do too much with them, and I wish they did. But despite the problems I had with it, I am still going to give Black Mass an A-, because for the most part, I was really into it. I was very impressed by it, and I definitely feel it's one of the better gangster films I've seen in a while, and definitely one of the bigger successes of this year. Is it one of the best movies of this year? No. I don't think it's one of the best movies of this year. I wish I could say it was, but I don't think it is. I think on a rewatch, I will enjoy it more, but for right now, A-, that's what I'm giving it. I still really enjoyed it, but it just wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. However, I definitely am going to keep this poster. I'm going to hang it up because I really did love this movie. And yeah, but that's basically my review for Black Mass. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys saw this movie. You have seen it. I really did love this movie despite the problems I have with it. Let me know what problems you guys have with it. And I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for another movie review. And I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.